Good morning, it's Tuesday, June 11th, 2024, and this is your update on the continent that once invented democracy a very long time ago. It's the day after what state-controlled media called the massive right shift among European voters, and Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz finally faced the music and refused to dance. Scholz said that the massive loss of voter support is nothing that would lead him to actually step down and call for new elections, and he would instead continue his good work to convince voters to vote for his government in the federal elections in Germany next year. Germany's government, of course, is not all alone in its denial. State-controlled media pitched in, like the Berliner Zeitung, who now writes that there has not been a right shift among voters in Europe at all, and one has to look at the bigger picture. Private news outlet News did that and found a massive loss of support for woke left governments all across Europe. While support for pro-illegal immigration and woke governments all across Europe is dwindling, the big winner of these elections, Germany's AfD, Alternative für Deutschland, now seems to fall in line with exactly these governments. At least AfD just announced that their frontrunner for the European Parliament, Maximilian Krah, will not be part of their delegation. That is, because France's presidential candidate Marine Le Pen demanded Krah to be expelled. Allegedly, Le Pen does not want the topic of remigration, so the expulsion of illegal immigrants from Europe, to be part of her campaign, for it is unpopular in France. It remains to be seen how voters of the AfD will react to this. Meanwhile, Germany is preparing to be the host of this year's European Soccer Championship, or rather football championships, as civilized nations would call it, with the Hessian regional minister for sports facing the press and telling them that this event will be a, quote, stage against racism and hate. Which is a funny thing to say for a member of the ruling SPD, Social Democrat Party, because their federal minister for the interior just faced press and told them that the soccer championships are a massive threat to security and the public order due to ISIS terrorists and Islamistic crime that is threatening Germany. She actually had her president of the domestic intelligence, Bundesverfassungsschutz, give an interview saying that Islamistic terror threats are as high as they have not been for a very long time. Speaking of massive illegal immigration into Germany, federal police have yet again raided the offices of a politician of said ruling party for allegedly supporting criminal illegal immigration into Germany. Yes, that's not a joke. Politicians of the CDU and SPD are obviously heavily involved into illegal immigration into Germany on a commercial basis. Of course, when fascism is on the rise in Germany, Austria is never far behind. Federal police in Austria have just raided the private apartment of critical journalist and blogger Chris Weber for downplaying the Nazi terror regime. That's also not a joke. Weber's alleged transgression? He posted a satirical statement on X and Facebook asking the, quote, left fascists what their problem with Adolf Hitler is. For Weber says Adolf Hitler also banned critics and was a hater of Jews, just like the left fascists today. An Austrian judge by the name of Gregor Putz signed a court order for police to raid the journalist's home and seize his computers and phone because the judge believes that the author had glorified National Socialism with these posts. Heil Austria, you truly belong to the new normal Reich. With their skepticism towards critical journalists such as Mr. Weber, the German state-controlled media heavily welcomed Apple's announcement that the company will now integrate artificial intelligence deeply into their product. Apple's CEO Tim Cook announced on Monday that the ultra-woke chatbot ChatGPT will now take control of Apple users' data on iPhones, iPads, or Macs, and it will suggest phrasings for emails or good media to consume. That, of course, is good news for the regime of the European Union, for censorship is one of their most important projects for the upcoming legislature. The president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, just announced a new initiative of censorship with the name of Democracy Shield, also not a joke. The European Union is already censoring critical media such as Russia Today to ban, quote, disinformation and misinformation. The inmates of the European Union can therefore not legally read headlines such as this one, informing them about the massive deterioration of the state of mind of the head of the free world. That's it for today. Join us next time for your update on the continent that once invented democracy.